And we're live. Hi, guys. So it's RIB, Robert Ian Bonnick here. SpeakuP Monday, inspiring humanity from here in Bali. And today we've got a great guest, Mr. Lee Duncan, professional boxer and entrepreneur from my home, from the UK. How are you, Lee?
I'm amazing, brother. I'm amazing. It's Saturday morning. The sun is shining. My feet hit the ground. The coffee's touched the lips, and I'm ready to go. Let's go.
Ready to rumble. So look,
Always.
I love it. So for those of you maybe just tuning in, so SpeakuP Monday, Destination Indonesia. We're up to episode number 100 right now. That's an in-studio audience. It's an inspirational Q&A. And it's amazing, right? It's about getting to the heart, not necessarily what someone's done, that we have amazing, very successful guests. It's about who they are. And SpeakuP Monday, Inspiring Humanity podcast is because people like you, Lee, who I'd love to have here in Bali, can't make it because you're over there in the UK. So this is set up specifically, so we can connect, relate, and get some incredible stories and sharing and value out of you, which are basically overseas and not in Bali, right? So that's what it is, right? So look, without further ado, let's jump straight in. So now Lee, so professional boxer, right? So now a question that comes up, in my mind growing up in a children's home in London, right? That's me for 18 years. And, like one thing which was instilled in me from very, very young that I failed miserably at from the beginning was protecting myself, right? Was sticking up for myself. So I eventually came to boxing to stick up for myself. But what was your journey into boxing?
So firstly, thanks for having me on, Rob. It's amazing. And what it is, I mean, I'll go back from my teenage years.
Yeah, man.
So if you'd have seen me in my teenage years, I was a completely different person with a different mindset altogether. And I was in a household, a multicultural household. Father, he's black from the West Indies. He's very negative, my father. My mother is white. She's English, very positive. And my mother was very vision orientated, just like myself. So my father used to come with a negative attitude towards everything that I wanted to do. So everything I did, any wins that I got were never good enough. And the only thing that saved me, if I was honest, was a vision I had in my head. I knew what I wanted to become. So this became part of my identity. And through that identity, then became it all became actionable through my intentions of what I was doing. So I'm battling, and there's a lot of conflict with my father. All right. He just wanted me to do what he wanted me to do, whereas go out, get a job and everything. Nothing wrong with that, but I wanted more, and I wanted to be a little bit more in my life. That's my mindset back then. So I had to make the courageous decision at the age of 16, which I actually fled the family home. So I moved out of the family home where I was comfortable. And my father, he actually moved me and my brothers up to an affluent neighborhood in Sheffield to keep us on a mission to keep us out of trouble and situations. All right. But none of this really mattered because externally I wasn't in prison, but I was a prisoner of my own mind. And why I say that, Robert, is back in school, I had no inspiration. I had no motivation. I wasn't bothered about school. So I was bunking off class. I wasn't even going to school half the time. All right. Not because I'm not blaming the teachers or anything like that. I just, in my own head, I just wasn't bothered. I didn't care. All right. So it all started from there, and things started to change for me as soon as I moved out, as I stumbled across a mentor named Brendan Ingle, MBE, who's a famous boxing coach and mentor. And he mentored me from the age of 16. And that was the start of my journey.
Wow. And it always surprises me, even though I feel like it's coming, the resonance, because part of SpeakuP Monday, what it's about is two things. One is people inspire people, right? And the other thing is called Bhinneka Tunggal Ika, which Indonesian is the Indonesian national motto, and it's unity and diversity. So what it means is that even though we have different stories, at our core, there's lots of things that we share. To be heard, acknowledged, loved, fulfilled in our lives, and so on. So what I hear in your story is like, because my parents came from Jamaica as well. Like my dad and my mum, they met in London, and but then going back to the Jamaican maroon heritage, my dad was black and my mum was white. It's a Barrett family, right? Going way, way back.
Yeah.
But it's interesting because immigrants, right, coming in, like, so your dad is obviously a massive, like when I say inspire, it doesn't always come from the positive either. It can sometimes come from a FU. I'm going the opposite way of what you're saying. It's still inspired by people. So your dad, why is it, do you think, with empathy now, meaning what kind of life did he have? Why is it, do you think, that he was the way that he was with you?
Because I think my father was afraid and he was worried that we'd have to go through what he went through maybe. So when he come here, he had to work hard. And I mean, every day. And even when me and my brothers, we lived in a lovely house, we were sort of family orientated, but my father was always out. So as a kid, I always remember him coming down the driveway in his car at like 9, 10 at night every night. But then he'd get up and he'd leave early for work the next day because he runs his business. He still runs it to this day. So he's been in business for 38, 40 years. So that was his norm. So he worked so hard to provide for his family that he didn't want, maybe, he was scared that me and my brothers were maybe going to go down the wrong path. So he was trying his best with the time that he has to sort of navigate us towards, as we say, a comfort blanket. So go out, get a job, work, be secure, be safe. But just something didn't resonate right with me doing that, because it just didn't. I knew there was more to life for me, and I knew that my vision that I had that feeling, that desire, and a desire is a subconscious expression of your vision. So the vision was so strong. I knew my calling was higher, and I knew I could become something, and that was being a professional boxer. And to this day, I'm glad I went down that road, because I would have looked back and had deep regret if I never did that. And a part of me from doing that is so fulfilled, because you're not asking the question, what if? And when you get that feeling, it gives you a feeling of abundance. And as soon as you get the abundance and you're fulfilled, you operate on a different frequency and vibration throughout the world. So you attract great things towards you and great energy. So that's where it started. And like I said, once I moved out of my family home and I was getting mentored by Brendan Ingle, that's when the life education really started to happen. So I've moved into this house full of athletes, world champions, winners. So I'm around winning mindsets. That, like, we talk about motivation, discipline. All right, motivation, it's not enough for sure. I know that, because motivation, like we say, it comes and goes. Discipline is still not enough, because discipline can be questioned. Oh, how many people do I have to be disciplined this week? Oh, I don't want that because I have to be disciplined. They're just trying to convince themselves that they're being disciplined. What we have to adopt, what I learned from all these winners and all these sporting networks of people and sporting icons, is we have to adopt a championship mindset. And the only way we do that is by adopting a culture. So I was boxing amateur at the time, and I was living with world champions. So when I was going out to box, it was expected that I won. So it wasn't a case of winning the fight. It was, when I was coming back to the house, it wasn't a case of, oh, did you win the fight? It's, oh, you got the championships, the national championships. Oh yeah, make sure you win the national championships. It wasn't like, oh, just win the fight. So you was expected to become a world champion, because as soon as you got in that cohort of people around our gym, and I'm talking, we had fighters, Prince Nazim Hamed, Harold Graham, Johnny Nelson, Kell Brook, Ryan Rose, like all these guys, you're already thinking big. You see world champions, that is your goal. Like, you're not thinking about becoming British champion. You're just heading for the big thing. So, and that's a great ambition to have, because it's just opening up your mind. And when you're exposed to success like that from a young age, you know it's possible because you've seen it. So that's different from going down an avenue. I wouldn't say an average avenue, but the ordinary sort of life and mindset that the majority of people have, because they don't have a desire, or they fail to acknowledge that desire. And that can be very, very traumatic in the long run, because when we ignore that desire, we're not truly congruent to what our calling really is. And like I said, living with these athletes, that's where my real education started. And what happened, Robert, there was a an amazing thing that happened. I ended up going back to college, right? Because Brendan asked me, he said, right, are you in college? Are you in school? Whatever, what are you doing? I went, no, I just want to box, Brendan. I just want to come in the gym. But he says, right, I'll do your deal. You go back to college, you can come in and train. And I was like, oh. He says, you're going to finish up going to university, becoming champion and running your own successful business and becoming a very successful man. And I was like, I was looking and I'm thinking,
wow,
I don't know what this guy's talking about. Anyway, he said, can you read? Can you write? Can you spell? Can you do maths? I said, yeah, of course. He goes, well, there's nothing stopping you from achieving anything in life.
wow.
So I said, is it really that simple? So I went back to college. Unbeknown, I got the grades to go on to university, got into university. So my academic education, from obtaining an honours degree and then going to get a master's degree, which I was the first professional boxer in England to get a master's degree from a red brick university, that was just a byproduct of my vision that I followed. Do you understand?
Wow.
So a great thing came from me just following that vision, and that's what I'm trying to say.
Wow, man.
Yeah.
That's phenomenal. So for those of you watching, right? So Lee and I, we met on Clubhouse, same as Joe Ortega last week. Joe Ortega was on the show last week. Amazing guy, incredible story, much like yours.
Yeah.
And so guys, if you're not on Clubhouse, you got to get on. You got to get onto it. And it's interesting because, because there's no distraction. Like you tune to someone's voice, and you get that frequency of congruency, that frequency of authenticity, that frequency of something you can resonate with or not. And that's why we're here. And so two questions come up, right? The first one is an acknowledgement. So on Clubhouse last night, funnily enough, we were talking about this, and I don't remember the phrase, but it's exactly that. It's being in an environment where you are held to a higher standard, and it's expected that you will succeed. It's just expected. It's not wished. It's just expected. And because there's that environment of expectation, it's not the expectation that kills you. It's the expectation that lifts you up and holds you to that standard. And that's what I can clearly see in your situation, which is amazing to kind of get it right back like a mechanism going from one to the other. So the question is, firstly, where did the desire for boxing actually come from? And the second question is, where did you meet your mentor? How did you meet him? So where did your desire from boxing come from, and how did you meet your mentor?
Yeah, so the desire came from being a young age. I used to spend every other weekend at my grandparents'. So, oh, excuse me.
That's your brother.
I used to spend thank you. I used to spend every weekend at my grandparents' because I could get away with a little bit more there. It was a little bit more relaxed. So my mother and father were quite strict, West Indian parent, my father is strict. So I used to go there at the weekend just to sort of have a bit of downtime to myself. When I was a kid, I could stay up late playing on the computer. My nan and granddad wouldn't mind, sort of thing. So my nan's very, she's very lovable. She allowed us to do what we wanted. So
love
my granddad, I always remember my grandfather used to have tapes on of Muhammad Ali and all these guys and the old school fighters, and I just used to watch it. And my grandfather, he's a big sports fan. He loves football, he loves boxing. They're his favorite two primary sports, and he always used to be watching those sports. And football, I didn't really navigate towards that. I used to enjoy watching it a little bit, but when boxing was on, I used to get up, I used to start moving around, I used to start imitating, so that's where it all began for me, and that's what I wanted to do.
Love it. And then so how did you meet your mentor? So
mentor Brendan Ingle, years ago, we was on a day out in Hillsborough Park in Sheffield, and this was a big fair day. And I remember I was only young, I was about 10 years old, and I remember seeing a ring in Hillsborough Park on this fun fair day, and Brendan was there, and he had his fighters in the ring, and what he used to do was get people out of the crowd to come and try and hit them in the face, see if they could hit him. All right. And it was all based on movement and actually sort of reactive movements. So you got people coming in the crowd. So I remember watching that when I was a kid. So then years down the line, it was funny because my father knew Brendan. He'd done a bit of work for Brendan before with TVs and one thing or another. So one day my father said, look, what I want to do, I want to introduce you to Brendan. So he's took me up to the gym, and I've walked in one Saturday morning. I've seen Brendan right down at the bottom of the gym, and I've walked straight down. And the first thing he said is, smile. And I was like, and I'm just watching what's going on in the gym, and everything's going off, and it's busy, and people are hitting the bags, and people are in the ring moving around. And I had the feeling from there. And then Brendan, the first thing he said was, all right, you can leave him here. He's going to stay with me for a couple of hours. And then, you know, I trained a little bit, and Brendan was talking to me. And it just all started from there, Robert, if I'm honest with you. And, you know, it was just a snowball effect.
Love it. What did he see in you? Did you ever speak to Brendan and say, hey, mate, so this all went on, but what is it that you saw in me?
I don't think it's what someone saw in you, but it's how Brendan built people, because let's not forget, he built world champions from ground up. A lot of boxing trainers get fighters that are already made or have already done something. Brendan's built world champions from nothing. So all it was Brendan just had a philosophy on help others if you can. And that was his philosophy. And he was all about giving. And he was just a blessing. Like he would help anyone that came in the gym, he'd help them. So, you know, it all started from, like I said, walking in the gym, going around, and half the time it wasn't even about boxing. He would talk to me about other things like life skills. He had us out picking up litter. So I've been out picking up litter on the street with world champions. And then you learn about, I knew why he did that, because you learn things about human nature. You learn how human nature is. Like, people would see you but not know who you were. Some people would pat you on the back and say, great job, I saw you the other day picking up the litter. Oh, fantastic, good lad. And then other people would throw the litter down next to you. Do you know what I mean? So you got to see what human nature was really about sometimes. So it was all a great experience, man. It was a great experience.
Man, is he still with us?
Brendan, he passed away, unfortunately, 3 years ago. So he mentored me right up until my late 20s. And I was 29 when he passed away. So he passed away 3 years ago. God bless him.
Oh, man. Was it expected, unexpected, or?
To be honest, I don't really know. It's just one of them things. So, you know, God bless him.
Yeah, but man, what a phenomenal man! I mean, like, you know, like you think about Rocky and you know, not Rocky, well, Rocky, yes, and obviously Tyson and Gus, you know, and all of these incredible athletes, you know, had incredible mentors, you know, which, in fact,
100%.
you know, and they passed, but you know, it would be really interesting to get into his head, you know, of what he saw. Could I get that, you know, he specialized in taking people from nothing to something, but he must have seen something in you, right? Because again, like that, all of us are around, right? And like when I look at people, you know, I sense when people have got that determination, at least, and you just get a feeling that this guy's made of stern stuff, right? And I can't put it into words, but it's something which you pick up. It's a frequency, as you mentioned before. Whether they've done anything or not is irrelevant. It's just they've got this frequency of that mongrel or something in them that you just know, if I just show this guy the skills, he's got the heart already, and the rest I can teach him. You know, it just
comes from desire. People pick up on desire and passion.
Yeah.
When you want to be something so bad, and you know, when I do something, I'm in it for the long game. I'm in it for the long. I play the long game, because I don't want to sprint fast. I don't want to sprint fast and then drop off. I'm in it for the long game. I'm in it till the end with anything. So when I get involved with something, I'm thinking like 30, 40 years down the line as well. Like, I'm thinking, you know, I'm going to enjoy the process as well. So that's my take on it. And like I said before, you know, Brendan was all about, you make sure you're using your senses the whole time anywhere you go. You know, as humans, we have 5 senses, as they say: seeing, touch, hearing, taste, smell. And then we got a 6th sense, which is human instinct, which is anticipation, which people overlook. And that's a very, very quality, you know, attribute that we all have. So we got to make sure we're aware and we're using our senses the whole time, anywhere we go. Got
it. And that 6th sense that you mentioned, like how do you fine tune that? If someone's watching now and they're saying, okay, I get your story, I understand it, but how do I fine tune my 6th sense? What would you say to them?
Just been immersed in the process, man. Just been immersed, doing your thing daily. So be on it daily. It's a 24-hour game. Like anything you do in life, people are like, oh, work-life balance. It's not, because once you're immersed in something, you're going to have to be immersed, and it becomes part of you. Like I said, it becomes part of your culture. You know, it's just like you, Robert, doing this podcast. This is your culture. This is what you're doing. This is what you do. This is what you love. This is your passion. So you're gonna express that in your voice, your tonality, your body language, you know, your actions, your gestures. So that's what I would say. Like you pick up on that. Like, for example, I'll give you an example of the sixth sense. I could walk into a room of 1,000 people in an audience, and I could pick out boxers in that room, everyone who was a fighter, because we speak the same language. They won't have to say anything. I can tell in their body language. That's how long I've been in the game, because I just have that sense. Like when I speak to someone, when I meet someone, I say, "Oh, you're a fighter, aren't you?" And they say, "Yeah, I knew you were a fighter as well." So we speak the same language. You know what I
mean? There's a guy here. What's his name? He's going to kill me for leaving his name. It will come back. Nico Verison, and he was like not a cage fighter, but like no rules, like, and he was a world champion, and you're like, he went through operations, and he's a fighter, man, and now he's into mindset, and is teaching people how to, and that's fighters to executive coaches to CEOs of large companies, you know, how to fine tune and hone their mindset for success. So now, you know, so if, for example, I would ask you that question, right? So how would you do it? How would, if someone asked you, hey, listen, Lee, how do I fine tune and hone my mind for success? What would you say to them? Yeah.
Okay, first, we got to start from base one. Let's get rid of all the rumble jumbo that people are trying to bamboozle you with science, because it's not. The ideal thing is, and this is what I learned through Champions, is you get a small voice that comes into your head with anything we do that we feel might be bigger than us. And it says, oh, what if this, what if that? What if it doesn't go for me? What if I get tired? What if I fail? What are people going to think of me? How would I come back? What if I lose everything? This little voice, we got to revert it to amazing things are going to happen after this. This is made for me. This is what's going on. And it's quite simple. And I explained this in a room on Clubhouse the other day. Someone asked me this question, this similar sort of question. And I said, look, there's no science to it. Yeah, we talk about the subconscious mind and everything else, but if you're doing something on a daily basis, you're ingrained with that anyway. So the only thing that you need to do and focus on is that little voice that comes in your head. Like if we were going to do a podcast right now, Robert, I could have two voices. I'm like, I can't wait for this podcast. I'm going to smash it. Or, oh, what if I stumble on my words? What if it's not good? Or these just flip it. That's it. That's the difference. Like there's no people are trying to come on with all this scientific, you know, oh, you got to do this, you got to do that. It's all NLP. No, it's not. It's just that voice in your head. You just got to flip it around. That's it.
Love it.
It's simple.
And with that, it's consistency, right? Whenever it comes up, you hit it. Whenever it comes up, you hit it. Keep hitting it. Keep hitting it. Keep hitting it. Keep hitting it.
Attack it. Any negative thought that you have that creeps in, just attack it with 10 positive ones. Just attack it. You got to attack it. Like people are confused, like winning. It's took me years to learn how to win. Winning is a learned mentality. You have to learn how to win, in my opinion, because it's like a car, driving a car. We got to learn how to drive. We got to learn how to read, write. Winning is the same. We got to learn how to win. Then we got to ingrain a championship mindset, because when you're winning, everybody wants to know you. Everybody wants to shake your hand. Everyone's patting you on the back. It's easy when you're winning. It's easy. Everybody's all for you. But what happens when things don't go your way? What happens when you have to come back? Then what do you do? If you've been a winner and you've not learned how to come back and be a champion and have a championship mindset, then what happens? What do? Do you crumble? Are you leaving yourself for dead? How are you going to respond? And that's the great thing. A reactive state is something for survival. So if I'm in a ring, and because I've boxed for so long, certain moves are instinct, but they're sort of survival moves. But then you can respond by being tactical and thinking, okay, what I do, and that sort of reflects in life as well. So we have two situations. We can either be reactive or responsive. So you have to delegate between the two on which two are the best things. If you see a lion in the jungle, you're going to react. you know what I'm saying? If you see a great opportunity to make £100 million, you're going to be responsive because you think, okay, now I got to think. You know what I mean?
Now that champion mindset, I'm loving this. So have you ever had to come back from a defeat or from an injury or something which triggered that response? And what did you do?
So I had an injury about 4 years ago that I had to come back from. I had an injury in the gym. So I've had to come back from that. So having a championship mindset, and when you get something took away from you, ripped away from you, that you can't train every day, and you can't do what you usually do, your mind can wander. And I've been in that situation in a house on my own, injured, not being able to train. I didn't have a miss at the time or anything like that. So you sat there, you know, and then my mother was bringing me coffee because I couldn't drive. I couldn't do anything.
Oh, man.
So my mother was bringing me coffees. And like, when you're there and you get that comfort from your mother or father for, you know, an hour or so, and then they're gone, you're left for the rest of the day on your own. So how are you going to keep your brain engaged? How do you do that? How do you come back? How do you talk to yourself when you spend all that time? Because spending time like that to yourself, it's good, and meditation is good. But when you spend too long talking to yourself, you can become in a convincing state where you're trying to convince yourself out of certain things. So my obstacle over that, I actually did an application to go to university to do a master's degree while I was injured. So I turned that and flipped it around, because that's a championship mindset. So that's what people don't understand. You know what I'm saying?
Love it, man. So that championship mindset is that saying, well, you know, I had a friend, right? I actually still have a friend. He's still with us. So this guy, Tyler Farnham, was a skydiver, jumped out of a plane, right? Cut long story short, his parachute didn't deploy properly. He made a mistake. Ego got involved because his mum was there. And he ended up falling to the ground without a parachute. So literally free fell to the ground, right? And survived. Now, like serious, massive injuries. If he was like 5 meters to the right, he would have hit concrete and died for sure, but he hit grass. Like, there's so many things about the story that are mind-blowing. Tyler Farnham, you'll see him on SpeakuP Monday. Now, when he was going through his recovery that was long and arduous, he came up with 2 things which I remember, right? One is a diagnosis. This is what you have: broken arms, broken legs, broken ribs, blah, 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 blah. Prognosis: you're never going to walk again. You're never going to speak again. You're never going to eat again. All of this stuff. And like what he did in that situation, he had a championship mindset. So he said, you know what? I'm going to speak to somebody who was in the same position as me or a similar situation, who managed to overcome it. I want to learn from them. And it was this woman that he found. And it was awesome what she said to him. She said, number one, know the difference between a diagnosis and a prognosis. Take the diagnosis, throw the prognosis out the window. Don't listen to it. Because they're working on a probability of averages. And that's not you if you don't want it to be. And the second thing she said is focus on what it is you can do, not what you can't. So basically he was in bed, like pretty much paralyzed from the neck down, right? Temporary paralysis, but he couldn't feel anything. And he couldn't move stuff around. And he was like, oh, I can't do this. I can't just focus on what it is you can do. So then what he focused on was like something like moving his eye, something like that. And like, but just using that championship mindset, eventually every prognosis that he was given, he proved it entirely wrong. Right. And he's an amazing guy. I mean, I'm paraphrasing it, but that's what it triggered, this championship mindset. Right. So then, so my question to you now then is like, you know, like of all the darkest moments that you've had, what was that moment and how did you overcome it?
Probably losing my first professional fight. Like, you know, the big sort of build up for yourself. It's a big thing for you, and the concept and the overwhelm of the event. It just must have sort of got to me. And there's bigger challenges in life for everyone, but you know, this is something that was my desire, my life, my everything I was working towards, and everything else. And I lost. And I remember going in the training room, and I was down, and then Brendan, he came over to me and said, get changed, get ready, and go out and sit on ringside and watch the rest of the boxing.
Oh.
And I went, yeah, but Brennan, I've just, I'm really down. He goes, listen, time rolls on, it's done with, get out there and watch the rest of the boxing. But from this day, I know why I did that. Because then you haven't got time to think about and feel sorry for yourself. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you're back on it, because time's rolling, man. Time's rolling. You got to be back out. You got to be back on it. You're gonna have hurdles in life. It's just the thing. It's like if you're in life just to expect the wins, win after win after win. And yes, life should be that. Win after win after win after win. Success should be that. But now and again, you're gonna get a little bump where you have to overcome. And that's the thing. You just got to keep on it, keep consistent. And it's consistent consistency. That's what they say in anything and everything. Because whilst you're on your question, on your journey, great things are happening that you don't even realize in the background that are manifesting for you. So the minute you stop, the manifestation, they're also on hold as well. So whatever you do, maybe you have a failure in this part, in the primary, but in the secondary, something's working for you. So you got to keep the ball rolling. And that's my advice I give to everybody. If they ask, I say, well, yeah, you've had a bump in the road, just carry on. And like your friend with the parachute situation, prognosis, diagnosis, he's concentrating on what he can do, the difference he can make, and great things are going to come out of that because he's focused on the wins. Like people focus on what bills they have to pay every month. All right. They're not focused on their actual income and their potential. So when you flip those two around, you wouldn't have to worry about the bills because your focus was on income. So, it's two sides of the spectrum. You have two ways to think about something, don't you?
One that's close to home. So I'm a basketball player, right? So Jordan, favorite guy for lots of people, not alone there. But one thing which I studied him a bit. And one thing which I loved about him is that still do is this concept. He was asked, like these guys are catching up with you every year, right? Which is when Kobe was coming up and a few of the other guys, and they're like, sort of, what are you going to do, man? Like, are you afraid of losing losing number one, baby? And he was like, no, I'm not. And he goes, well, why? He goes, well, at the end of the day, they're focused on where I am now. Right. So they're probably focused on where I am now. I'm focused on my potential and what I can become, which is why they're always going to be, if anyone is focusing on me, they're focusing in the wrong place, because that's where I've been, and where I'm going is never going to be there, which I think, and I keep hearing this championship mindset within you. So this question comes up. I played basketball for England. It was my dream, right? I got there as a schoolboy when I was 15, right? Got there, and then the next year I came back for under 17 trials, right? And my heart wasn't really in it, got to say, right? So I didn't make the team, and I got a scholarship to the States, an option to get it. This was when I was 16, and I didn't take it because of fear and all the rest of that. But what keeps you at the top of the mountain, man? What keeps you at the top of the mountain? Because I got what I felt like I got to the top of the mountain, and you know what? I didn't have what it took, or didn't feel as strongly as I wanted to, needed to stay there. So consequently, I moved on to tennis and went pretty far in tennis, but not as far. But for you, right, where are you in terms of your mountain, and how do you stay there?
Just reaching your potential in life. Reaching your potential. We got so much in the tank that we don't even realize. And that's what keeps me going every day. Being humble and knowing that there's more potential to reach, because we can't afford to take our foot off the gas. I've done that before. And it was on the road to sort of tragedy, because once you take your foot off the success pedal, you start slowing down. So you have to make sure every day you're pushing 10 times harder, 10 times smarter every single day. And that's what it takes, because don't forget, we're on an economic planet. Everything's fast, everything's moving, everything's changed in the last 5 years as the world changed, for sure. Even in our last year, the world's changed. So like Kobe Bryant and these guys say, they're not focused on competition. And people, you know, since I set up in business, people say, oh, what's your competition? Local competition. Man, I'm not even bothered about local competition. Why would I focus on local competition? My icons are Apple, Amazon, Coca-Cola, you know, these world brands, these world brands that have been highly successful consistently at the top of the market for years. Like, they're the guys that I'm looking at and modeling. I'm not modeling my local person down the street. Why? Do you think Apple are worried about Nokia? That Apple are doing their own thing. Do you think Amazon are worried about Yodel delivery parcel service? No, they're doing their own thing. So I think people have just got to think bigger, and we have to think big. Like, I spent my early teenage years thinking so small because I was inside my head in such a little box, and I didn't think anything was possible. Then I was exposed to a bit of success, and then throughout my life, I've been exposed to more success with people and meeting people and going here, there, and everywhere, and university and one thing or another. So you know that in life, anything's possible, and we have so much potential that's unused. So that's the worst thing, isn't it? Having the potential that's there and not using it in your life. So absolutely, like, that's my driver every day. And you know, it's funny because my mother, I could ring my mother and I always tell her about my big wins, and the first thing she says is, oh son, you know, I love you just the way you are. But I could be anything, and my mum would say the same thing. I'm not saying it's bad, but our parents and our friends, unfortunately, they're not our mentors. They're going to tell you things that you want to hear because they don't want to see you hurt. They don't want to see you down and out. They're rooting for you to win. So everybody's rooting for you to win. So it's only the mentors that are going to tell you what you need to hear. They're not going to rub your ego and try and make you feel good. They're going to tell you what's going to spark something, as if to say, wake up. It's like, for example, I was in a fight once. I was in a fight. I was in a title fight, and I said to Brendan, I was like, oh, Brendan, I'm getting tired. I'm getting tired. And the first thing he said to me, he just leaned over and said, look, it's not my fucking problem. You're the one going out there. And that's when it hit me. And I was like, yeah. So then I went out and beat the fella. But, you know, certain things, you know, sometimes you need to hear that. You need to hear it. Like, if he'd have been comforting me saying, oh, it's all right. Oh, you know, you're not tired. Don't worry. You know, I'd have been like, oh, I'd have ended up getting knocked out. So sometimes you have to hear things you need to hear. So, yeah, that's the wit of the Irish, that.
That one got me.
Yeah.
That one got me, because you're there.
Yeah,
you're there, and you're thinking like Hollywood movie, you know. And then he said this to me. I was, nah, it's not my problem, mate. You get out there.
Yeah, exactly. So sometimes it's those things that you need to hear that'll spark you and wake you up and say, okay, that's in business, that's in life, isn't it? As soon as someone tells you something that you need to hear, you think, oh yeah, okay, light bulb moment. We're on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look, crack up. This is the last question about your past, right? So that slowdown, I don't need to know the details, but like, it was obviously very important, right? Because I mean, part of, I believe, what makes you a champion is the fact that you have been through shit, right? And you've made it through, and you found a way, even though you might doubt sometimes, but you found a way to make it. And then that allows you now to have more understanding, awareness, experience in the now, right? So that slowdown, without going into the details, but that slowdown, and then, like, what did it really teach you, like, at a deeper level?
In regards to slowing down in?
Yeah, so you mentioned that in your career, you keep your foot on the pedal, on the success pedal. You never let it off. But you said once in the past, you let it off.
Yeah, so you can slip into what's called the comfort blanket, where you think, oh, everything's going all right. Oh, I can just relax. You know, that's not good. That's not good. And my experience of that, there's been a few, but my experience of that is you got to get up with the same hunger every single day. You got to be hungry. You got to be reaching an unknown potential that you have. And don't get me wrong. It's like people say, oh, what are you doing here? Why are you showing up? Man, I'm going to keep showing up. I'm going to keep showing up regardless. Even on Clubhouse, I'm going to keep putting my hand up and getting on stage. Even if you don't pull me up the first time, I'm going to be back tomorrow. I'm going to keep doing it. I'm going to show up. It doesn't matter. I'll show up every day, you know, and you get people looking at you and saying, oh, what are you doing here? Oh, are you meant to be here? Is this week? Yeah, of course. Everyone needs to go and put themselves out there. Go and show up. Who is anyone to tell you you don't have a right to show up in anything you do?
Yeah.
The only people that doubt you is those that have already doubted themselves. And that, my friend, is the one and only thing that separates you from the winners and having a championship mindset, is that champions turn up all the time in anything, whether it's business, work, taking care of your family, having to hustle, having to start from ground up again. How does someone have everything, lose it, and then come back? It's not no coincidence. It's a championship mindset in life. And that's what we all have to adopt. We can't afford to have anything less. An average mindset is not going to cut it for you in life. Like it just doesn't cut it for us, does it?
No, man.
It doesn't. When I had an average mindset when I was in school, my life was in tatters. My life was in a mess. My life was in a mess. And like people say, oh, you're right, you're all right to have an average life, an average mindset. Yeah, you might be okay, but you're gonna have problems. Do you know what I'm saying? Like we all have problems, but you gotta just push forward, like with anything. Just keep pushing and pushing and pushing. And like it's like this. It's funny because when Brendan first started training me, and I was useless. Like I couldn't box. I was useless. And people used to say, "Oh, Brendan, why are you wasting your time on him?" You know. So there you go.
Far out, man. Love it. You know, like I'm really glad we're having this chat. And you know, one thing that I love about you, man. Well, there's a few things, but this thing drops in. There's a woman who's English as well, Bronnie Ware. Bronnie Ware, BRONNIE WARRE. Yeah. So Regrets of the Dying. I think she's Aussie. Regrets of the Dying. She's a terminal care nurse in palliative care. So it means that when you have 2 to 4 weeks left to live, then you're going to go to that ward where she's going to be looking after you to guide you over towards that place we call death. And after a while, you fight it and then you accept it. I'm going to die. And then she would ask him these questions. You know, is there anything you regret in your life? Right. So these guys have had a full life. Right. And I won't go through all of it, but there's Regrets of the Dying. It's a whole book podcast. It's been made into a movie. But here's the thing, which I love about this, which reminds you of you. And so the number one regret of the dying, number one, is not money. It's not it is this one. And I'll paraphrase it. It's my number one regret. The number one regret for these guys is that, and this is thousands of people who's gone through her hands. I wish, this is them talking now, I wish that I would have lived the life that I wanted to live, not the life that other people wanted me to live, right? And this is one of the first things you said in his podcast, which I love, right? You know, again, you were never going to stand for, you know, look, your dad, love him, I'm sure you do, and you should, because he's done extremely well for you. And I mean, like, but at the end of the day, it's like, no, I want to live the life that I choose to live, not the life that you want for me. And that's the number one regret of the dying, my man. And you've already hit that one, right? Every day you hit it.
I know.
And it's inspiring, man, like for real, right? So I just want to thank you for that. Now, the other question which comes in, so moving on to the business, right? Actually, before we leave that, in boxing, is what have you achieved so far? And what is there left for you to achieve for you?
So I won my first title at 22 years of age. I'm 32 now. So I became international masters champion at 22. And I done that. And then I was successful in my academia. So I left an iconic image throughout that of, you know, people can do 2 things at once. Yeah. Like you can go out and reach your potential. One doesn't have to take a hit because of another. So I'm 32 years old now. I'm going to exit the game at 38. So I've got a good 6 or 7 years left in the game. Then I'm going to go on and crack on with everything else that I've got going. So, you know, like I said, I'm not over yet. So, you know, there's still years in the tank. So, like I said, I'm leaving nothing in the tank because this was a life that I wanted to live. And a lot of people wouldn't live this life. I'll tell you right now. A lot of people wouldn't go through stuff that I've been through, you know? And you get people looking at you thinking, man, why is he still showing up? Why is he here? But I don't care, because they're not me. They don't know Lee Duncan's mindset. They don't know my mindset. They don't know my mentality. I'm like, undoubtedly, I've worked a lot on my self-development and conditioning my mind over these years. So when trial and tribulation come and face me, I'm ready for it. I'm ready. You know, I've conditioned myself to do that. And that's not just talking about boxing, that's talking about life.
That's life, man.
I've took hits in life. So, you know, I've come back from them every time. So I'm going to keep doing that and pushing forward, because I don't give anything less now. And that's one thing, like you said, like you just gave an example, when people are on the deathbed and they regret not living the life they should have, or not even trying and opening the book. You got to open the book. You got to go, because you never know. It's like people freak out about a written exam before they even open the first page. It might be blank. There might be nothing on it. But then, you know, you never know till you open the page. So my advice and takeaway from this would be, if there's something you want to do, whether it's small, whether you want to pick up the phone and call someone, whether you want to go and get into a local team, or whether you want to go and make £1 million or do a deal or whatever, go and do it, because you're going to regret it down the line if you don't. You know, and that like the first thing I said, and that's one of the first things I always say on Clubhouse when I get pulled into these rooms and people ask me, oh, what advice would you give to the up and coming or the young people? I say, go and live the life you want to live, because you see so many people. And don't get me wrong, Robert, in sport, you see a lot of parents bringing their kids to certain places, but their kids aren't interested, because the parents are trying to live their life through their kids. And it's not right, because it's a forced behavior. Let them do what they want to do, and great things and byproducts will come from that down the line. It might be a long-term thing, but it'll benefit them in the long term, because then they're not going to have any resentment and regret.
Love it,
you know?
Mate. I've got so many questions for you. We've got 10 minutes, 15
Absolutely.
minutes. I've got so many questions for you, man. But one which comes up, fatherhood.
Yeah. Fatherhood. I like that. I like that word. I'm not a father because I don't have children yet, but yeah, fatherhood. You got to be a great father. We absorb as kids and coming up. So whatever actions your father is doing, it's learned. Whatever our fathers say to us, we might not listen, but we're always watching and we're absorbing. So it's not always the action that matters. It's always the intention. So if we're fathers and we're doing stuff, and I can't really speak on a father plateau because I'm not a father yet. So I'm I'm just going off what I've seen. So yeah,
mate, I'm looking forward to see the day, man, because you know, like from the person that I see in front of me, man, nothing but pride from me. You know, a fellow Jamaican,
you,
my man. Like you know, like you'll be an amazing
Grenada,
dad, Grenada. West Indies, man. West Indies in the house, all good. But man, like you'd make an amazing father. Like you know, because again, it is the next generation, and this is the one that comes after us. So it's so powerful. Those formative years.
If my missus is still with me, because I'm spending too much time in Clubhouse, I think I'm expecting to wake up in the night and she's gone.
I got one good mate. I got a few good mates, but this one, his name is Gil Petersil, right? So Gil Petersil, he works with Tony Robbins and some of the biggest speakers in the world. He's an amazing guy. And when we spoke about this, he's married. He's got 3 kids now, and I have 2. And and when this whole Clubhouse thing was blowing up, because he mentors me on some things and we reciprocate. I asked him, so mate, you know, with his Clubhouse, said like, what's the most important advice you can give me? And he looked at me and he gave me that look. He goes, Rob, get permission from your wife. Get permission from your wife.
They don't know what they're in for though, because you're not coming off the app once you get off it.
I know, man.
Yeah.
Get permission
Crazy.
from your wife. That's all he said.
100%.
And I laughed at him. I was like, you got to be kidding me. But now I know exactly what he meant.
100%.
100%, man. It's ridiculous, but it's so powerful, right? And I mean, you know, look, what the heck? While we're on Clubhouse, so what is like one of the things that you love about Clubhouse?
I just love the networking on it, and you can't hide on Clubhouse because anything you say, you're going to get questioned, and there's going to be someone sat there who's going to question it. So you can't get on there and be a pretender. So that's one thing I love. Instagram, these other platforms, you can hide behind the lens. You can hide behind the lens, man. I mean, you got so-called influencers, I think, influencing the wrong things to the wrong cohort of people. I mean, when people ask me or they show me their social media and say, oh yeah, look at this, look at that, I'm like, yeah, all right. I'm like, oh, are you following Steve Jobs on, sorry, not Steve Jobs, Bill Gates? Are you following Bill Gates? Are you following Tony Robbins? Are you following Eric Thomas? Are you following Jeff Bezos? And they're like, oh, no. I'm like, why? These are the guys you want to be following if you want to be successful.
Got it, brother. Yeah,
isn't it?
Man. Yeah,
so
man.
like Clubhouse is great because it brings all the like-minded people together. I love that. And this is what I'm saying. If you're a pretender and you come out, you just come in with the whole, I don't know, just the whole sort of cloud9, rubbish, you're gonna get filtered out. So if your intentions are clear on what you wanted to do and how you wanted to network and what you wanted to do to build your business and your profile, that's great. Clubhouse is just phenomenal for that, and I love it. It's great. The other social media platforms, yeah, they're good, but I think Clubhouse is the one for me personally, in my opinion. And I just want to ask the same back to yourself.
Oh, look, absolutely great question. So for me, what I love is, I paint a picture like this, right? Back in the day when I was doing telesales, right? Getting the yellow pages out. Remember that? Yellow pages, right, is on the same level as pucker, right? Both are extinct.
It is.
Both are extinct.
I
remember getting the yellow pages, working at Expo Marketing, had my script in front of me, I want to speak to the decision maker, trying to get through the secretary. Secretary knows that you're full of shit, bang. And it takes a week, 2 weeks to get through to the guy. I get through to the guy. I'm like, hey, blah, 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 blah. And he goes, not interested. Damn. Clubhouse, you connect directly with the leaders of the industry in real time. There's no secretary. There's no other block. Not only that, but you can talk to all of their customers, all of their clients, all of their fellow like-minded beings in the same room. It's the most powerful app which I've ever seen. So to me, that's what sums it up. There's a lot more, like I love everything that you said before about you when you hear someone speak, you're either in the frequency or you're not, right? And you get it, right? And it's visceral.
100%.
Even though it's an app, it's visceral. There's no visual to be distracted. It's just you're there and you're listening, and you can hear every intonation in their voice. You can hear exactly what's going on, and right? What do you say or not is up to you, but and they know too. So I love it. I love it for that reason, right? But one thing you said earlier on, which is in my head, because I like doing things, right? So 2 things: you were doing professional boxing, and then you're also studying for your master's. How did you do it? So if someone is saying, hey, I feel like, I can focus on one thing at a time. You've done 2. How did you do it? What would you say to them? This is how you do it.
I've been asked that question many a times. How did you do it? How did you train 2 or 3 times a day and then go and study all day? I'll put 2 things out there. One, I'm fairly young. So when I was doing that, I was, in my teenage years, so from 18 to mid 20s, avenging. I was avenging the lost academia from back then, from way back in school, because I never reached my potential. So this is what I'm saying. I knew the potential was there. I had the potential. So I wanted to avenge it. So when you have an vengeance to come back with that championship mindset, nothing. I was going training. I was going studying because I wanted it. I wanted to do it. I wanted to get there. I wanted to accomplish that degree. And I got that degree. And my mother was so happy. My father came to my graduation, my first graduation, he was happy. You know, it was happy. It made my mother and father very happy, and made my mother fulfilled that I did that. So that made me fulfilled, knowing that she was fulfilled, because then I avenged the education. And that's how I did it. I have there's no scientific, you know, there's no scientific sort of, how could I framework for it? It's just basically get up, get on it, and do what you wanted to do, and do what you're supposed to do.
Love it.
And that's it. That's it. Like I can't give any other bit of advice for that.
Man, I love it, right? Because this is,
Yeah.
it's about people inspire people, man, all right? And unity and diversity. So like this people inspire people part to it. I love, because, you know, like you inspire me, man. And like, I get you viscerally, right? Even though we're on Zoom, it's like, I feel like I've got you in 3D. I feel like I'm grabbing your arms right now.
Yeah.
Lee, I get you, man. I feel like I got you in my hands, man. Right? And I love that, right? And that unity in diversity, right? Is that, so, you know, like, again, you know, like, you bring it back down to those human attributes, right? Of, you have a choice, right? You can choose A or you can choose B. No one's got a gun to your head saying choose B or choose A. It's your choice, man. It's your choice to embrace a champion's mindset, or it's your choice to give up, let it go, play safe, relax more than the average, right? And I love that, because then you know, it gives us a very clear path to choose.
My day was, exactly, a path to choose. A being inspiration, B being desperation.
Yeah.
So they're the only two things that are going to make you and make you attack what you need to do. So if you're in an inspirational sort of environment, you're inspired, that's great. You're going to be inspired. You're going to be on it. If you're in a situation where you're fucking desperate and you need to go, you're going to get up and do it, because you're in that mode of, look, if I don't do this, I'm going to sink. So they're both good. And the thing is, it was great. Like, even you know, boxing and the academia together, it was great. Like, my life was fulfilled at the time, because I was training. Then I wasn't just going home. And yes, as an athlete, you do have to recover, but when you're young, you have the energy, you have that sort of that bite in you, and you're going out, you're going to university, you know, you're getting a lot of female attention of what you're doing, and people are seeing you up in the papers and on TV, and it's good. You're in that environment, so everything's buzzing. You go into lectures. I enjoyed the whole process. You're studying in the library at night. You're challenging yourself through the assignment. You're presenting in front of lecture theaters, in front of people. You're working on different skills. So it was a development process. I knew I was developing as well. So as a person, as an adult, so it was great. And I loved the whole process. Do you know what I'm saying? And being able to train in the morning actually got me switched on. So I was training, then I was going to university, I was switched on. I was in the sort of, you know, positive mindset and mode, because your endorphins are released. So then you could study, because you're on it, you're charged up. And then you study the whole day. And then after maybe around 3-4 o'clock, you go training again. Then you were releasing all that tension that you've been studying the day, and then you go home and relax and have some dinner and enjoy. And it was good. You slept at night. Put it that way. You slept easy at night. You had no problem sleeping. So
no, mate. This is my last question, right? Yeah. And like, this is the question that just popped in, as they always do. This is for all the boys, all the men out there, right? Now, you're boxing, you're training, you're fit, right? These are some of the best years of your life. Now, as you mentioned before, you have endorphins, but you also have testosterone. And as you mentioned before, now, you know, not now, but before and now, you start getting the attention, women, everything else. How the hell do you manage the women? Like, how have you managed the women in the past, and how do you manage it now? Because come on, man, it's like, I am a wolf and there are sheep. Sorry to give it like that, but I'm just trying to paint you a picture. How do you manage it?
Well, that's a good question. I've not had this one. Well, I've got to watch what I say, because I've got a missus. So when she watches this, which she will do, I've got to be careful now what I say. No, she's a great woman. But the thing is, it's like, I wouldn't say it's that. It's obviously you when you're young, you're an athlete, you're around certain environments, and like you said, you got your mates there, and you're boxing, and you're in the paper, and everything's happening for you. You know, you're on that frequency, so people are gonna be intrigued by what you do, because you stand out, even though you think you don't. And when I've had conversations in the past, people are, oh yeah, you stand out like a sore thumb. I knew there was something about you. Like a lot of the time when I was going to university, you had people from all over the country. So not me being known on a local level, I can't go around Sheffield without bumping into someone. That's just Sheffield. That it's like a village city.
Yeah.
Like the city centre is a village, and then the surrounding areas are the ones that are big. So you know everyone's interlinked, especially if you're boxing or you're into some kind of sport. Everybody knows you. So my people coming from all different sides of the country and then the world, and you got people from the States, South America, Canada, everyone at university. You stand out because people know that there's something about you that's different because of the language you speak, and you're around a cohort of people all your life, like championships and boxing. You pick up that body language, so you have different body language to someone who might be a scientist. You read it in your, in your physiology. So that's the thing. So people just gravitate towards you naturally, and that's the thing. But all I'm going to say is, academia was great.
Mate, you won't get in trouble with your girl. You didn't answer the question, but I'll give you that one, mate, because I understand.
Yeah,
I understand.
I went around the back door.
I know, mate. I know, mate. So that, for that reason, you're going to get another question, and then we're really going to wrap it, right?
Yeah.
Lewis Hamilton, right? Lewis Hamilton is a champion.
Amazing.
Love him, right? Now,
man. Yeah.
You and me, we're both brothers of color, right? And obviously, like we've been through stuff, right? So if I ask you the question, right? Number one, have you ever suffered from racism? The answer's probably gonna be yes. So, but number two is what do you do with that stuff now? Does it ever affect you? Does it ever impact you?
Yeah. So once we did an exhibition at Hull Prison. Brendan took some of the pros, and there was a ring up, and we was in the ring, and all the prisoners were sat around in this hall, and I'd never ever been into a prison before. So what happened was Brendan put me in the ring, and he says, right, who wants to come and knock this black fella out? So a load of people just shot their hand up. So Brendan brought them in the ring, and they had to try and knock me out. So it was funny, and I was just winding them up. So it was great. That was great. So that's my only positive experience of it. So yeah, to be honest with you, I've not experienced. I take it with a pinch of salt, because I don't really care about what people.
Yeah.
Everyone cares about what people think, because when you're trying to get somewhere in life, you need a team, you need people. It's great to negotiate and network and everything else, and have teams around you, because like I said, big firms like Amazon, Coca-Cola, they don't do it. There's not just one person behind the scene. The circle's quite big. So you have to have people gravitating towards you all the time. And what my advice to anyone would be, just focus on what you're doing. Don't worry about what's going on. Don't switch on the news all the time, because a lot of it's mixed messages. So like I said, rumble jumble, pry it open, and just focus on the main thing. And like, people are going to have uneducated opinions, things that they don't know of. But again, racism, why should someone be racist towards me? I was born in the UK, my mother's white, English. Do you know what I'm saying? So I don't know why they would. I mean, it just goes over my head, because it's something I've never focused on. I think it's been in a multicultural setting, because boxing is a very diverse sport. You get Hispanics, you get blacks, you get whites, you get gypsies, you get everyone from all over the world. And
what I love about sport, and we're closing after this, but what I love about sport, one of the ways which I was able to process all of this stuff out, was the fact that sport doesn't matter about the color of your skin, the accent, money in your pocket. Like you can't cheat the work. You can't pretend. You put in the work, even when you have talent. You cannot cheat the work. So that's a big leveler. And like my life right now, well, for many, many years, has become an ambassadorial role, bringing everybody together. That's why doing shows like this, what we see is your unique story, which is amazing, and who you are as a person, which I love and acknowledge. But at the heart and soul and core of you is at the heart and soul and core of me, as it is for everybody else. Those fundamental things that make us human, that we share in common, and we can
Yes.
either rise to or we can be the victim of, right? So I love that. So look,
Yeah.
wrapping up the show. So what we do with SpeakuP
I love it.
Monday is that we give the guests the opportunity to finish the show with something that maybe you've said it already and
Okay.
you want to reinforce it, or something that is new that you do, what you want to get in there. Now, before we get there, I'll spend 30 seconds before that, so I'll give you time to think about it. So guys,
Yeah.
as you know, this is SpeakuP Monday, inspiring humanity. It's a podcast, right? I just want to thank our incredible guest today. Man, I've learned so much and very much inspired. So look, we're going to finish the show until the next time that you see me with another incredible guest, probably from Clubhouse as well. And look, so mate, over to you, man, to close out the show. Something that you'd like the viewers to know, or something that you want to share from your heart that you haven't done already.
Yeah. Think abundance, because when you think abundance, great things happen for you. And the world, again, as an economic planet, it is very abundant. And if I could recommend a great book, Psycho-Cybernetics, because it's all about self-image and vision. So it's a great book by Maxwell Maltz, one of my favorites. So yeah, that'd be my takeaway. And if anyone wants to connect, feel free after the podcast to connect with me, and I'd enjoy that. Thank you.
Thank you, my man. And how can people connect with you, mate?
I didn't mention it through the podcast, but we're actually running a global online health and wellness platform now. So, www.boxcampfitness.com. There will be another entity that will release as well in a few weeks that's going to be coming on board. So that's one way to connect, through info@boxcampfitness.com. You can also, if you are on Clubhouse, connect with me on there. Connect with our business account on Instagram, which is Boxcampfitness. My personal is Lee_Duncan. With me through my man Robert, who's done a great job on the podcast, and it's been amazing, brother. I just want to thank you very much. I've really enjoyed it, and you're great at what you do. Keep it up, keep going. You're made for it, and keep working on it, brother. Thank you.
Thank you, my brother. Much love. Thank you very much indeed, mate. Most appreciated.
No
Loved
problem.
it, man. Oh.